All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Viaka Podcast, where we sit down with founders, investors, and builders from across the MENA region and beyond to explore stories, lessons, and ideas shaping entrepreneurship today. Today, I'm joined by Joey Diab. He's a Lebanese engineer and product leader whose career has spanned some of the world's most influential tech companies. He began his journey studying engineering in France, then Spain, before joining Apple in 2009. Where he spent nearly a decade leading internalization and localization efforts, from developing the first Arabic keyboard for iOS, to helping expand Siri into multiple languages, and working closely with teams under Steve Jobs' leadership. Since then, Joey has gone on to hold key roles at Dropbox and Toters from Lebanon, and now leads technical partnerships at Ramp, one of the fastest growing fintech companies in the United States. Joey, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Hi, Ramsey. Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
Good. Thank you. All good.
Great. Good to hear. Joey, I want to maybe start with. I know you grew up in Lebanon. You moved during university. You went to France and Spain. Maybe let's start there. Let's start at that part. So, what did you study at university, and what was the transition between France, Spain? What was that about?
Yeah, sure. So I studied in Lebanon initially, all my high school up till I was 17. I decided to move and try university abroad instead of staying in Lebanon. We can talk about that, but basically, I wanted to go to France to do a very specialized, engineering schools like they do there, where you do generic engineering and then you choose your track, whether you go on computer science, biomedical, chemical, civil, etc. To give myself a little bit more time to finalize what I wanted to do. So I went there. The university is called UTC, which is University of Technology of Compiègne, which is one of the best prépa intégré in France today. And so after that, I got the opportunity to go and finish my studies in Spain at the Polytechnical University of Madrid. Lucky enough, I speak Spanish, so I did all my courses in Spanish, all of that, and I finalized my computer engineering degree there, which was in the equivalent of a master's in Europe. And then from there, moved to got a job, applied at Apple, and then got an internship and took it from there. The cool thing is that my university courses required students to basically do internships every now and then, and so that was kind of the ultimate internship to get my degree.
Was it always in the back of your mind, or was it just something that happened, or did you aim at Apple? How did Apple happen?
Yeah, I definitely aimed at Apple. So I think being brought up, I've always been very ambitious. I come from from a modest family, but with a lot of ambitions from a career. My role model there has always been my grandma, with whom I've had all these conversations about what I would aspire to become as I grow up, and and back then, so talking 2009, the iPhone was like 2 years old, and in that year 2007, I was doing an internship in New York actually, and I lined up and I bought two phones, one to jailbreak and one to actually use to learn to learn the internals.
Do they still do that? I don't think that exists anymore. No.
No, I mean to some extent you can, but things have evolved so much.
That
you don't do
it's
it
not
that
worth
much.
it
But
anymore.
yeah,
Jailbreak. I remember we were
true.
hooking up wires.
Oh, totally. And so after I was when I came back to Europe after that internship, and I'm like, I need to find a job at Apple. I literally went on LinkedIn and messaged every single human that had a title of a manager inside the company. LinkedIn was not that big back then anyway, but
Mhm.
I ended up talking to some people, did some interviews, and I just got some guidance, and then I applied literally from from Sindelfil in Lebanon, and that was before Christmas. And I actually at Apple I applied for two jobs, one in Paris and one in Cupertino, and I got both ultimately. For the anecdote, the Cupertino ones, it was like 3 a.m. in Lebanon. I had my mom and my grandma sitting next to me, actually behind me on my bed in my room, stressed and worried about the son doing the interviews. And then the cool thing was how they say, being in the right place, right time. They needed somebody that speaks Arabic, that had that background, and that could work in the US, etc., etc. So, lucky enough, I had a green card from the family, and I spoke Arabic, even though I was exempt from Arabic in Jamhur, which is another conversation. But so Teta, my grandma, was sitting next to me to answer some Arabic specific questions that she did, and so I got the job on. I got a job in early in 2009, and then in March I actually joined Apple as an intern,
So
and I stayed for.
an internship. It was an internship that you was it a paid
Correct.
internship?
So it started as an internship. The cool thing is, so it was a 6 month internship, which is what the university required. But in the US, most of the internships, like summer internship equivalents, are like 3 months. So doing a 6 month project was much more interesting to me because you have more time to do things, to explore and learn, and actually meet people inside the company. And so I definitely took advantage of, every single day there, to get my foot my permanent foot in the door, and actually
Foot in the door.
get the full time job that I was able to get after that.
Okay, foot in the door, and then you stayed for 10 years. So it's a pretty good.
Yes, a 6 month internship turned 10-year career starting. So.
Hey, what was the role? What did you do? What did you start with? What were you doing?
So as you mentioned, I at that time, so Steve Jobs was still with us, and he was starting to oversee like expansion into the Arab world. Like again, just you go back in 2009, technology is starting to grow. The UAE is still there. It's there, of course, but it's still trying to make moves in the technology industry. And so the Arabic on Arabic keyboards, Arabic UI, Arabic software was not sexy or trendy at all, and we were trying to make moves there. Only Microsoft had already, Arabic keyboards. They had some interfaces, and then third parties would create skins on top of macOS to build Arabic. So I kind of started to build conversations there, and then the first and most important piece was the keyboard on the phone. And as Apple was expanding internationally to sell the phone internationally, the first thing that was needed was the keyboard. And so I worked with the keyboard team and the input methods team to basically build that keyboard, whether it is the layout, the autocorrection algorithms behind it, and making sure that it gets displayed properly on screen, because every Arabic letter shows in 3 different ways depending on where it's positioned in the word. So wanting to make sure that that thing was displayed properly. So that's how I started. We shipped the keyboard. That was iOS 3. Today we're iOS 26, but it would be the equivalent of 19 if you count the year. So it's a long time ago. Of course, the keyboard has evolved. The technology has evolved since then. But the cool thing was to basically build that because I was the expert in Arabic. Again, even though I was exempt. So that was the funny anecdote here.
You're exempt in Lebanon. You're exempt in Lebanon.
Yes,
but over there, you're the guy.
So all my friends would make fun of me, and even I went back I was used to go back to Jamhur where I studied high school and tell them about you need to be to persevere in Arabic. Arabic is important. It's our background. Arabic. So I'm like, oh, okay, are you really convinced, Joey? But again, as I said, like it's big influence by my grandma, and then so she was part of all of this. I would ask her questions because we are not used to type a lot in Arabic because first it's very hard. Nobody knows where the keys are, but also if you think about how you're putting diacritics, how you're actually putting the fatahtin after a word, you don't really care where you're putting them when you're writing fast. However, when you're typing, it's important the order of things. Think about Chinese or Japanese characters. Mm-hmm. There's an order of how you're putting the strokes here. Mm-hmm. It's the same for Arabic. So I had no clue what those things were. I had no clue how these things worked really, and but we built them together with data. So I give a lot of credits for that first keyboard and many other things later. But that's how I started. We shipped it, and then we shifted to actually, and I had become full time actually back then. We shifted to how does a UI look like for an Arabic user on the phone and on the Mac, and I basically started with the Mac, and I delivered that in 2011. macOS 10.7 Lion back then. So
So
long time ago.
you're working on the software and the design, or you're working on just on both? So how's
Yeah, so the software is the most important piece. Like
okay?
Apple will take a lot of pride into the minute detail, of course. And so it's not about, somebody who, doesn't understand it, who is a left to right language speaker, an English speaker, French speaker, or et cetera, doesn't really appreciate or understand the work that comes into what they call mirroring. It's not just a
Okay.
button where you just take something and put its mirror, because you need to think about the flow of information. You need to think about the shadows of the design. How are things operating? And sometimes how our right to left minds think, which is very different than from how your English speaker thinks. And so switching all of that is not just like pressing a button. And so what we did is, like, I worked with the design teams, I worked with every single stack of the engineering team to basically educate them, because again, I was the Arabic expert.
Was it just you? Were you a
To
like? Was it? Were you
It was
leading, and then did you have other speakers? Was it just you? You were. يعني
so
they took your word وخلاص.
yes, yes and no. I'll tell
Yes
you
and
what.
no.
So yes and no. So I had a partner in crime. She
Okay.
was the Arabic translator. She was from Jordan, and she was like my source of like local information. And we would jam on like different ideas. I also traveled to some countries. Like, I went to Saudi Arabia multiple times. I went to the Emirates to actually talk to people. I talk to schools, I talk to governments, to actually understand how they're looking into that. Because if you want to sell, enterprise solutions for these individuals, they will require Arabic. It's like the
Mhm.
Arabic needs to be present. It's a
Of course.
requirement. And so how to make sure that they're going to use it and be satisfied with it. Back then, I also spoke to the people that were building the skins on top of macOS. They didn't know that I was trying to understand what they're doing. And they don't have access to all of the source code of Apple. So it was a
Correct.
kind of a half, meh, not a great job. To stay polite. But so I learned all of these different things. It's not only my head. And then so, but I can appreciate. I mean, I read Arabic. I speak it. I'm not the
Hmm.
best, but I speak it. So I would be able to understand what needs to be done, and translate that into technical requirements and product requirements for the teams, to basically be able to understand. That was a critical piece here, like writing those requirements and explaining to them in ways that they can be translated by, because whomever, in some cases I would implement, but and code them. But
Hmm.
still, it's like a million product at Apple, a million app in the on the laptop on macOS. And so these guys don't specifically speak Arabic or have any clue. They only speak English, or sometimes other languages, of course. That would be very hard for them to appreciate what we're trying to achieve. And so it was key to build those requirements in a very crisp way.
What are some like debates or things that you would discuss with the design team, or like this should be this, or this should be this, or
Look, there's tons of stories, but like the cool thing that I remember, that I think impacted me as a person a lot, is uh, Steve was extremely involved in all of this. Like, he really wanted to see progress. He really wanted to see where things were at before. So I shipped this in 2011. So he didn't see it through, because he
Mhm.
passed in October of that year. We were finishing it, but it wasn't production. But during all of the debates and all of the different conversations, he actually was one of my main stakeholders. Not directly, because I of course had my management chain,
Mhm.
but he was heavily involved. And then so we've had a couple of meetings where we did some updates, and we were looking at every single item. Like, we're talking every button, the icon inside the button, the color of that icon, and then if the shadows are looking good, etc. And back then, also Microsoft literally, I don't know if you use Windows, they have the start button. The start button is on the left, and then if you're
Left.
an Arabic speaker, right, yes, if you're an Arabic speaker, it moves on the right, no questions asked. Like, everything is just mirrored. And if you look back then, still shadows were not great. Like, the text was almost flaky, so it was not the best experience. And we got that. We've talked about it. We got it. And then so Then it's a matter of moving things along to the left. And at Apple, the equivalent of the start button is the Apple logo, which is in English on the upper left side, where you click on and you have all the kind of the macOS menu, the laptop menu, and important information. And so when I came with my final prototype of how all of this was going to look like at the different levels, everything went really well, except that Apple logo on the upper left, because I have moved it to the upper right, which made a lot of sense because you're moving from right to left. It's like the start. You're starting, you're clicking there, you're trying to move, and then you're doing it from right to left. He was not happy, and he made it very well, very well known.
What's that like? What's that like? What's the approach? So is he nice? Is he kind of sugarcoating? He's just straight up.
Oh no, he
I don't.
shows he doesn't sugar. He doesn't.
He doesn't. He doesn't care.
He doesn't sugarcoat, but he's gonna ask like he's gonna remind you that this is part of our brand, this is part of our who we are, our identity, and that the Apple logo is on the upper left, and so the Apple logo will always be on the upper left because this is how we're doing things. And then there's a good reason why it's on the upper left, which was not what Microsoft anyway did for their products. And so I was like, sure, but like if you click on the Apple logo and you want to read, there's no more screen real estate because you're moving to the left. So it's going to move you to the right, which is not natural for an Arabic speaker. He didn't care. It was not important. It was not important for him. Like it's like there is also being so passionate about the product and so passionate about your baby at the end of the day, that when you are convinced that these things need to stay the way they are, they will, and then nothing is going to change them. Well, after 2011, 2 or 3 years later, we actually moved it. We switched it. Even though I did come with a prototype of like a full how I'm thinking Arabic should look like, and putting that Apple logo on the right, and then putting English text, and see, well, you're going from left to right, and there is no screen real estate, so it's going to switch to the left to be able to show you, and it's not natural. But he was like, no, it's fine. I'm like, well. So it was a funny encounter. I mean, it's always very respectful. It's always very good. I mean, there's all these stories about how Steve operated, but at the end of the day, it's really about, if you know what you're doing, if you have arguments about what you're doing, and how you're solving your challenges, it's just about being true to your arguments, and then not bullshitting people across the board. And that's true in life, obviously, but like it was even more true for me as I was a kid, and Steve was like the reason why I wanted to work at Apple. So it's just like
what did that teach you, kind of working with Steve? I mean, you wanted to work at Apple, you wanted to work with Steve. So what would you say you learned from that experience?
There's I could spend the whole hour talking about those learnings, because there are tons of them. But I think the one that struck me the most is how passion can translate into the what we say OCD on the details, and actually how it shaped me as a person. Because my early years of my early career, I'm still learning, I'm still discovering. I am new to the United States. I am new to like corporate environment. I am new to organized life compared to what I had, and systems and all of that. And so I am hungry, and I'm just observant of everything and what's going on, and actually seeing how seeing the thought process of Steve, but also of everybody that worked at Apple and surrounded me, from my direct manager to my upper in the chain. Back then, it was very very important for me to understand how passion and the attention to detail can actually go a long way, and not like botching work. Because at Apple we spent so much time thinking and iterating about every single detail to make sure we hit it right, that you might think that you're losing your time, and you're like, okay, it's fine. And with our Arab mentality, sometimes you're like, yeah, whatever, mish الحال. It's like, let it go. Who's going to even notice it? But actually, people are so used to this kind of thing that when it's actually so well done and so well thought through, that they will like appreciate the work and effort that is being put. And this is in the DNA of Apple in general.
Of course.
This is one big learning, because I actually
Yeah, this is what people like about Apple. It's like the details of the details. There's nothing left.
Exactly, and I took it with me everywhere I went. I took it in my different conversations. I took it with the way I had a couple of interns, a lot of interns at Apple for a while. So in the way bringing that kind of appreciation
Ethos. Oh,
to an ethos, exactly, to those details, and how it can go a long way, even though it doesn't look rewarding in the moment, uh, is extremely important to me today, actually.
okay. Earlier you mentioned also how your mom and your grandpa had and your mom and your grandma, sorry, had an impact on you and working at Apple and Arabic language. Can you share a little bit about that? How they were influential to your work?
Of course. So on a personal, my dad passed during the war in '89 in Lebanon, and so I always say I've been brought up by women around me,
Mhm.
and then my mom, of course, worked very hard to actually make sure that my sister and I had a decent life, and my grandma, who was actually at home and played that kind of dad equivalent, and was an extremely inspirational person
Figure.
to everybody that and figure, exactly, to everybody she spoke with, in life. And you can see that when you talk about her to people that met her, they always have great memories. You always, she was a very, very important person, and for me at least. And so uh, I always wanted to make her proud, and I've always, like, she's like so we used to be philosophical together around, around life, around being, standing up to, as challenges in life, and then making sure that we don't victimize ourselves, and then we push forward. We always do better. We always do more, which is also why I wanted to leave Lebanon, to prove to them that I can also, provide. I had this sense of responsibility as the men,
Mm.
like the
Are
men
you
in
are you,
in, in,
are you
in
the
Arab
eldest? Are you
countries.
the eldest in the family?
I'm the eldest, and I'm the only guy. So
Okay, so
so
big
so I
responsibility.
had to, like, I was worried about my sister. I was worried about my mom, and making sure that, after a long time, I'm able to help them, for us to have a proper life, regardless of, the challenges of saying, that I don't have my dad next to me, which is also, side note, why I did not accept to go to AUB, even though I got a grant, because the reason of the grant was like, haram, he doesn't have his father, so let's
Ah,
help them. And I'm like,
okay,
I will
okay,
never, accept that for,
okay.
as from principles. So this is where, if the core of why I tried very hard to find the best job possible, and start, a successful life, whatever success meant. Of course, you don't know.
Mhm.
You don't know. I didn't know I was going to get to that at that point. And so getting the job at Apple was, she kind of take more pride than me when we got it, because she was in their interview process. She was like, "Let's go, let's do it." Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were like two big figures that we mentioned on a regular basis at
Of
home.
course.
And so the fact that I got that job, and she was like, she would talk about Apple as if she worked there too. Yani, she would let me know if the stock of Apple is going down or going up. She always say, like, she would tell me, like, what's going on. We're harvesting red apples today, just to me, like, the stock price is red, or
Or
like,
green.
we like green apples, and then, so it was always like that, and she would just call me to tell me this,
Like, hey,
one
what are you doing? Things are not good.
yeah, what are you doing? Yeah,
Like,
as if
what
it
are you
was
doing?
all
Fix it.
my problem. And the other funny thing is that one day she came to me. She's like, very, like, هيك shy, and I'm like, Shufi, what's going on, Teta? It's like, my grandson is a big deal at Apple. He works, he does all of this. He's growing. He gets promoted every year. I don't have an iPhone, and I'm like, yeah, but the iPhone will get you an iPhone, but it was an iPhone. The first iPhone was an iPhone 5C, blue turquoise, for the eyes, the line, so she
Uh,
could walk with it, and then, like, she's protected. And so I got
blue. Okay, blue to the line. Okay, I get it. All
the
right.
line. I got her that phone, and she, honestly, the look on her face. I have pictures of her look using it for the first time. and then asking to put the Arabic keyboard and sending voice notes on WhatsApp for the family group. And then she got an iPhone 6, and then we did more things. And then the first 6 had a plus screen, so bigger, so she could see more.
Of course.
And then she started using it. I was impressed. And then this is where, you know, life to me was like, wow, you know, like you build this thing, you have your biggest fan using it, and she's able to use it, even though it's like with age, and of course they
Probably
won't
she's
grow up
not
like
the
that.
ideal customer anyway. I think.
Absolutely. But then the fact that she's able to use it and it flows natural for her,
Mhm.
sense of pride and the sense of accomplishment meant the world to me, you know. And it's just it was insane for me that I was able to share those moments with her, because she also helped me on, you know, different areas. Like when I was working on different products or different projects, I would ask her opinion, and she would just, you know, help me with that.
Okay. When it came to, I think you mentioned also she helped you with language, with Arabic language, working with Apple. Huh?
Yeah, so, yeah, exactly. So she helped like so Apple is very secretive, so you don't talk about different things. So you just, you know, you talk about things. And I guess I have a story for you here. So when I was you know, at some point I was managing Siri for international, so I was overseeing every single language
Hmm.
of Siri that is not U.S. English. And then there was a little bit exotic. So we hired a lot of people. It's a different point. But in 2015, we were working a little bit before, of course. We were working on the first Apple Watch, and of course, very secret project. Come on, but if you remember, the very first Apple Watch was gold. It was
Hmm.
it was actual gold, so it was very expensive. And then who other than Gulf countries individuals would buy those kind of product? I
Mm.
don't know. It was like $17,000 if I recall, or something like that.
Wow.
And so the Apple Watch had no keyboard, so you only interact with it by voice. Voice means Siri back then.
Hmm.
Still is today. So they were like, okay, if those people from, let's say, the Middle East are going to buy the gold Apple Watch to use it, they need to interact with it in their own language. Their own language is Arabic. We don't have Siri in Arabic. And then it became, oh my God, we need to do Siri in Arabic, like in record time, to be able to sell the watch. One of the challenges outside of this whole Siri thing was like the watch face. So the watch, you have the face of it with the numbers. And I was asked, like, Joey, what kind of numbering system do we put on watch faces? What do people have in their on their wrists? And so is it like the indic digits, which are the actual Arabic ones, what we
Hmm.
think is Arabic, or the Arabic ones, which are the ones that you see
That's
everywhere
actually English.
in the US? So it's
Yes.
exactly, which is always hard to communicate. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's the same kind of things when I say to somebody, "That's right," because
Like right
they were
or
like thinking it's on the right. And so I had to be careful. I said it's correct when I meant it's correct, and then it's right when I said the
Yes.
positioning, just because of the ecosystem of my work.
Yes. Yes.
And so indic digits are the ones that we use in Lebanon. We use both, but like the
Mhm.
ones that you see in the
In
Quran or other
Arab
books,
culture.
it's
Yeah.
called indic digits in
Mhm.
Arab culture. And so the question was like, is this the kind of digits we want to put on watch faces, and what do others people do? My grandma did the whole market research for us without knowing. She looked at Tag Heuer, she looked at Rolex, she gave me brochures from magazines in Dubai and in Jeddah and in Riyadh. She would go and travel and give me some information. And then so to see like what other people do.
Sorry to cut you off. How is she doing the research? I'm trying to understand. Is she googling everything? Is she like asking
She would
friends?
Google, she would ask friends, she would ask family members that are there. She would she would look like, oh, show me, you know how like
Like
Lebanese
she would
grandma,
ask
they're like,
someone.
like she would just like
She's
peek
just
to
curious, you
check.
know.
Yeah, exactly. And she came up with the full report, and then the conclusion was that it was not a requirement from the very beginning, but it would be very nice to have. Apple has that today. They support tons of different numbering systems for watch faces, but I definitely was able to make an executive decision back then for us in order to get that. And then that was 2015. Actually, in 2015, Teda got very, very sick, and then she ultimately passed that year. And so that means that the very beginning of the year, from Jan to when she passed in May, I spent a lot of my time in Lebanon actually to be with her, and so I was working a lot from the hospital floor, like literally with her, and in the hospital and things, or at home whenever she would be able to go back to go back home. And one night, so I was working on the watch also, and I had a watch with me. Of course, nobody had ever seen it ever. Very particular about being very respectful of the privacy of Apple, and of course what we do there. And so, but she knew that something was up, and at some point during the night, so the medics were a bit running everywhere, and then they wanted to check her heart rate. They were worried about her heart rate. And then by the time they bring the heart rate machine, is like a table. It's huge.
Yeah. It's
And
like
then they had to bring it from another patient's room, and then
Yeah.
to plug
They
it
have to plug it, and they
on
have
my
to-
grandma,
yeah.
give me all of that stuff. And I was like, wait a second. So I unplugged. So I had the watch. I took it out, and Tita was passed out. She was not. I thought could be almost gone at that moment. And then I put it on her wrist to check the heart rate, just to have a reading myself. Ramzi, she turned around when I put it, and she's like, in Arabic, she said, "Hey, الساعة الخبرية كلها." So in English, it's basically, this is it. This is what we've been all hyped
Not
about.
very impressive.
And I was like, "Oh, why are you up? How are you up? Hey, Apple, hey. I was like, shoo. First of all, I mean, of course, there's what she's saying. That is like, but then also the fact that she's saying it. Right? And nobody in the family had any conversation with her that day. She was not doing well. It was not great. It was like, heart rate was relatively low. It was not great. But that moment, like, of course, made me cry, made me happy, all the emotions at the same time. But I will never forget. Like, it was so another moment of those, like when she had the phone, where she's like looking at the watch. She's like, and I told her, like, shh, you're not supposed to know. Like, Anna, I put it on you because you're not like,
You're not doing what?
You're not doing, like, no, you're not going to talk about it. Don't talk about it. It seems like you. so it was great, but also I'm happy she saw it, and then she kind of consciously, where it was able to touch it, because of course she didn't finish the year, and then she was literally everything for me. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, was this kind of the last thing you worked on at Apple? It was kind of like the keyboard, then it was Siri, then the Apple Watch. Would you say that's kind of
No. So as I was managing Apple Watch was 2015. I left Apple in 2019. A lot of the work that I put together was also based on hardware and new hardware that we were releasing. A little bit after the watch, there was the Apple TV that started having a remote that you could talk to. There was the AirPods, the HomePods also. That was a big deal that we work on, and so all of that needed, there's a lot of strategy that you do when you take products internationally, when you take products outside of the US, whether it's on the functionalities of them, but also rules and regulations, etc. And so there's a lot of challenges around this that pertain to not only to culture, but also to the hardware itself. And so a quick example here is, like, if you're talking about Apple TV or HomePod, you may be able to speak to the device in let's say Arabic, in French, and then you are referring to a movie title or a song title in English. And so then the challenges are and come around, how do you say those words? Do you translate them? But we cannot expect customers to translate. And so there was a lot of challenges into bringing all of these speech to text and text to speech engines. And I'm talking back then, there was no AI, there was no all of that. We, of course, were talking about LLMs and NLP and machine learning. Of course, this is the backbone of all of this kind of work. But it was not as trendy as it is right now. The technology was not as advanced. And so there was a lot of, and then so building Siri for different different languages across different countries was, a big part of what I was doing, whether it was hardware related or even understanding cultural aspects of it to be, to understand, some culture challenges,
The
when we
nuances
talk
and
about
the
the
subcultures
nuances
inside the cultures.
and the tough questions sometimes. Of course, like there's conflicts in the world, and then so when people ask questions about those
Mm,
conflicts, how do you answer them? How do you bring them in a
mm,
diplomatical way that represents
mm,
Apple's voice, but then it's not Apple, but it's actually Apple. So even
mm,
if it's not Apple,
mm,
ultimately it's attributed to Apple because it's getting out of an iPhone. So all of these different details was part of, like, I was part of a disputed territory committee for obvious reasons. I was for across the globe, not only in the region, but, like, there's issues with Falkland Islands in Argentina and Denmark and the North Pole and
mm,
all these different examples that are not only pertaining to the Middle East. So I worked on all of these different things from different perspective. I also was part of the maps
mm,
release because also it had a lot of international component there, outside of Siri. But most of my teams that were between product and engineering and QA and project management, they were all, like, responsible for Siri's personality, Siri's answers, Siri's existence in those countries, and attribution to, like links with hardware, etc. Where
mm.
we could foresee how customers are going to interact with those products using their voice.
Was
Yeah,
Siri by any chance like an app it was bought or was fully internal? What's the story behind Siri? Was it fully an
yeah.
app? It was an
It
app, I
was
think.
bought. It was initially it was acquired. Siri was
Mm-hmm,
acquired in 2011 by
mm-hmm,
Apple. It was used. It was in English only software, if I recall. Maybe they had other variation of English. I forgot. But yeah, it was acquired by Apple, and then it just got expanded,
mm.
and it blew out
They
of
blew it up
proportion.
essentially.
Exactly. There was an app called Siri, and then we kept the name, and then we just grew it with different voices,
Mm-hmm.
different languages, of course, and then make sure that it fit the Apple ecosystem, where you can ask all these
Okay.
different questions.
Where why is Siri behind today? Do you know?
I do. I have an idea.
Because there's a lot of talk about, and I mean we see it, about why Siri is a bit
Of
lagging.
course. I mean, it is lagging. I think there's two things. One, the backbone technology that we built at Siri. I don't think that over the years it changed drastically. We did not. I mean, Apple is not the first one ever to pick up a new technology and run with it for different reasons. Like, they're not the first company that built a phone with two cameras.
Mm-hmm.
The Nokia N95 had that way before Apple had FaceTime.
Oh yeah, N95.
Right? It was
Yeah, that was a
N95
GPS. I think
was
N95 had a GPS. It was the first, like, right. It
it
was
had a
the one that,
keyboard you can go up and
yeah,
down with
you
the
can go up
keyboard
and
too.
down. And then I remember the first time someone brought an N95 to school. Man, I was in Saudi, and somebody was showing us the globe, and it was showing the GPS, and they were coming in. It was coming in from the sky, and it was zooming in at the globe, and we were like, our minds were blown. We're like, what
Um,
the heck is going on?
when I got the first Nokia with a small screen that became color, it was insane. It was like, wow, there is colors in the screen.
Yeah,
It's not only this, like, bright yellow
yeah.
um, all the time. But yeah, so I think because they are very cautious about how to approach technology, so we stayed with what we had, and then it grew. Of course, it grew, but it not to the pace where now AI is just, like, hitting us.
Hmm.
And I think AI is one of those things today where you literally have to jump in fast because you'll be behind. And this is kind of exactly what's happening. I am sure they will pick it up. Apple has the brightest engineers that I know in there. Today, they will it will get better. Uh, the problem is that big companies, big corporations like Apple, they are by default slower, and it's not
Of
an Apple
course,
problem. It's a
it's a
corporate
of
America problem.
course.
You need to be more diplomatic. There's more politics into decision making, and people get territorial, and this could be get in the way of building good product. Apple is not the worst at that. I mean, I've seen worse, but I think it's going to take more time for them. But they will definitely come back, and I'm actually excited about what that will look like, because I'm sure it will be very creative in the way they do it, and it's going to be very very powerful. We just need to be um, haters are gonna hate, so they're gonna
Of course,
talk about how bad it
of
is.
course.
We need to be realistic. It is, but it is not great.
Mm.
It's bad. It's not great. And everybody makes mistakes. Look at Apple Maps. It was a disaster. I was there during that
I
time.
was
It was a
gonna,
disaster.
I was gonna mention it, but I was like, "Hello." It's like,
Hey, but it was. But then it's
I
about
think someone
okay.
was fired, and I think he got fired.
Oh, a lot of people got
A
fired.
lot of people got fired.
But it's about why. Well, what are the learnings, and what do you do to actually overcome that? And today, Apple Maps is great. I mean, people are used to Google Maps. They're also very particular. Apple Maps doesn't work in Lebanon, for example, unfortunately. But it's a business decision. They'd rather spend time in larger countries with larger population with larger footprint, and improve those than to start doing not great work into smaller areas.
Okay. Well, it must have been quite the experience at Apple. Obviously, 10 years. You then,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just don't forget, like, all this work. You have billions of people that use it. So
Exactly.
it's you can relate to things when you hear something. You take it personal sometimes. When somebody would tell me, I told Siri, they tried Siri in Arabic, and they were unhappy with something, or I would look at tweets where they make fun of answers, and I would like be directly mad because I'm like, they're
Yeah,
talking to me,
talking
and so it's interesting because I would drive my teams into ways like I created a fake Twitter account with, like, as if I was a customer, and I would actually interact with people for Siri in Arabic, but I didn't want to represent Apple in any way. And so I'm just like talking and engaging with people that are putting screenshots or talking about it, and then go fix the bugs, like what I was seeing on the field.
Okay. Okay.
And then that would be like whether it's the type of answer, the voice in Arabic was very hard to at the very beginning. And the iterations of the voice was very interesting. Luckily, Syrian Arabic went out on the watch first, and on the watch there was no voices, so we got lucky with that one. We improved it a lot since then, but there was a lot of things, and then so you start to become very attached to the product because people talk about it all the time. An iPhone, a feature in the iPhone, the quality of that feature, and all of that, and you're like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Of course, I'm sure you take a lot of pride in it. I mean, it's still being used today. So anytime somebody's like, it's your work. So of course you'd be very proud. From
No,
Apple,
totally.
from Apple, then you went to essentially Dropbox.
Yeah.
How was that kind of train of thought? Like, was it a conversation that was ongoing, or you wanted to go to Dropbox specifically for something?
People think I'm crazy for this, because, like, why would you leave Apple and all of that stuff? I mean, of course, I love Apple so much. I'm so grateful for all the people that
Yeah,
I
but 10 years,
encountered and I met there.
people are going
It
to
was
say
a
that
family.
after
It's 10
after
years.
10 years.
I mean, people say all kind of things, but but for me, it also was part, like, if you go back to those 10 years, I moved to the US. I didn't study in the US, so I came here. I had zero friends. I had zero attachment to anything. I didn't know anyone, so very hard. So all of my friends were my coworkers. Sometimes people that were in my team, other interns that whom I became their managers. I mean, the my life really revolved around Apple, and then my life
Mhm.
became Apple. And then, like, anybody I knew was only at Apple. I never met people on the street that were like, oh, friends from college, friends from high school, friends
Of
from
course,
the neighbors,
of
because
course.
none of that
Yeah,
was a thing.
yeah.
And so, and when you start to look back, you're like, okay, it's a very comfortable place. It's a beautiful place. You're learning a lot. I had moved to Apple Park. I had seen what Apple Park was being built. I worked there for a year. I loved it. It was so nice. It's big, career milestones. And then you're like, okay, all these other people will stay at Apple. Once you surpass the 10 years, you stay 40
Mm.
because khalas, you don't know anything else. And actually, that was stressing me out. I'm like, is this it? Is this work? Is this all of that? I could have stayed. I could have looked at different teams because I can get bored very easily.
Mm.
But I really wanted to actually go and learn, the concept of the world of startups. What is it to be in this kind of super scrappy environment, crazy place? I have a lot of energy. My personality is like that. I really want to solve problems, and then kind of see what the world out there. And also, I was tired of the commute from San Francisco to Cupertino because
Mm.
when I was intern, it was 45 minutes. By 2019, it was like an hour and a half one way.
Wow.
And so you spend a lot of time in the bus. You forget the joys of life, etc. So I really wanted to work in San Francisco. I really wanted to also try a smaller company, and no smaller company wanted me, at least back then, because they're like, oh, you only know
Mm,
big tech. You only know when there's a lot of money flowing for
mm,
you that you can just use it. You don't know what it's like to be constrained
scrappy.
financially,
Yeah.
scrappy, nimble, all of that. And so from one thing led to another, I met some people. I mean, I had some people from Apple move to Dropbox that convinced me to basically join them. Through the interviews, I really liked the whole the problem space back then. What Dropbox was doing, they had just IPO'd. They were still very small, and it was the year like 2019, end of 2019, 2020, before pandemic. Think about it. Everything you heard when you were young, when I was a kid, and I moved, okay, a kid, when I was like my early years, professional years at Apple, all of these other crazy startups that became big, like the Googles of the world, Facebook back then, etc. They had all these crazy programs, free food, free happy hours,
Of
all of
course.
this. At
Of
Apple,
course.
you pay for you pay for your banana. I mean,
Ah, okay. There's a
you're not
vending
gonna
machine.
get.
You pay for it. You get your.
And then they have baristas. They make your coffee. You're gonna pay for your
Okay.
coffee.
But
All
you
of
pay
that.
for.
And then so
Okay.
I went from this to get to Dropbox, where they had the best chef in the Silicon Valley,
There's a ping pong table.
Chef Brian. Well, there's everything. Chef Brian was at Apple. He was at Google. He was at Apple. We became very very good friends at Apple, and I see him there. He is running the show in the cafeteria of Dropbox. You get a big lamb shank, everything for free, super high quality sushi, wings Wednesdays. I love wings. All of that word, and I'm like, what is this?
What
All
do you
this
call this?
Silicon Valley money. This is the Silicon Valley money that successful startups are actually spending with no refrain. We had a fridge with champagne, Dropbox branded wines with a collaboration with some Sonoma country. It was like wow. And then every Friday we had happy hours, and I can tell you every Friday I had my whole crew of friends come to Dropbox, eat, drink, party in the headquarters in San Francisco.
Happiness. Happiness is the number one
Of
metric.
course,
Metric.
post 2020, all of that is gone, and every dollar and every cent
Of
counts. And
course.
then, like, you're like, even oxygen was what you
Yeah.
had to pay for it.
Yeah. I
But,
remember it was
but like
2021.
at
Yeah.
that time, it was insane, man. And I really wanted. I mean, I'm glad and grateful I got to live this, because it's not the American dream. It's not what life is about. But like when you hear, you read about it, you see movies about it. And then I was like at Apple. None of that is true.
Of
You
course.
pay for your lunch because you need to feel and then actually appreciate what you're eating and appreciate the money you're making, etc. This was like you can go and
Just
sit down
given.
there and
Everything
spend
is
your
given.
whole afternoon eating. Everything is given, so that you can work more. Of course, there's all strategies behind, and
Of course.
psychological strategies behind that. But anyway, I went to Dropbox because I knew some people there that really had great things to say. The project I was working on was actually the first one was actually to work with Apple on some
Mhm.
sync engine stuff, and then and I even went to Apple Park as a Dropbox employee. And then some people at Apple didn't realize that I was gone, and they were like, "Joey, you're sitting on the wrong side of the table." I'm like, "Sorry, dude."
No, I kind of made the switch.
Yeah. Even when I wanted to go to the restroom, man, they're like, "Oh, you have to be escorted." I'm like, "I know where they are. Like, can I just just go? It's gonna take like no, you have to have security with you now." So it's funny. But so I wanted to be a big fish in a smaller pond. That was part of my journey to actually move into startup world. It was just a stepping stone to get that from big tech, smaller companies, where you can use all that knowledge at the service of other types of problems. And then this is exactly what I was trying to do.
You were there for how long? Dropbox?
Around 3 years and a half, almost 4
3
years.
years.
Yeah, almost 4.
Okay.
Like I went through the pandemic there. 2020 we went all remote. They call it virtual first after 2021, etc. I worked on very different projects. Like as I told you, like I started with with some sync engine stuff with Apple. Then I picked up international expansion also again, mostly because Dropbox acquired HelloSign, and then HelloSign. So just like it's DocuSign, but It's not.
I think
It's
I came across it last week. Yeah.
I have so many good friends from HelloSign that of course I'd rather use HelloSign, but it was important to
I
take
already
HelloSign and
I already bought DocuSign like last week. I
that's
think.
I would judge. As long as you don't tell me that you're calling me from a Windows phone, I'm okay.
No, I won't answer that. Go ahead.
But I said Windows phone. I did not go
It's
too
not
deep, like because it's easy. It's an easy. It's not a Windows. I'd rather not be a Windows phone
okay. All right.
because you'll be somebody's grandpa right now. يعني مش معقول.
No, no,
It's
no.
not-
Of
that- these
course.
guys don't exist. Good. Uh, so yeah, we were taking all of we had to integrate all of HelloSign as part of other things into the whole Dropbox ecosystem for international. And so I also worked with the team there. I met the whole HelloSign team, helped them on this, and then did some other things. I built also. I was engineering manager for a team called Dropbox Capture, which is kind of a similar product to Loom. If you know Loom, that was acquired by Atlassian not too long ago. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
at this point, probably a couple of years.
800
But
nice 800.
yeah, yes. Well, and so it was exactly aligned with what I was trying to do from a career perspective, which is building 0 to 1 products.
Mm.
Dropbox Capture was you know was a the result of a hackathon, like a Hack Week project
Mhm.
from collaboration with other colleagues. I picked it up as an engineering manager, and it was part of the larger Dropbox strategy to diversify the product portfolio. And so file sync and share was great. It wasn't dying down. It would never die down. But like, there's other players today. Like you have iCloud, you have
Of course.
Google Cloud, Google Docs, etc. And so it was about how do you diversify that and how can you leverage the Dropbox platform and infrastructure, which was one of the best in class ever.
Mm.
If you are heavily technical, like the founder of Python, the programming language, worked at Dropbox
Mm.
for many years, and so you have a best in class engineering team for real. Like it's so hard to be an engineer at Dropbox. You have you're surrounded by all these people. They're building amazing infrastructure. How can you leverage that to build other products on top of it? And so you using Capture, which came from post-COVID Zoom fatigue, where people are tired of just being on behind their screen talking to someone and want to do things a bit more async when
Amazing.
possible. And so that was the whole idea. You record yourself, you go over a document, you go over something you're working on, you share a message with a colleague, and then whenever they want to look at them, they can go play that video at the speed they want, add comments, and then do it in a different time zone if they're in it, because of course remote work was a thing. And so it was just about building the right thing and find product market fit during that time. Unfortunately, I saw that Dropbox sunset Capture, I think a year ago or so. I wasn't there to understand what was happening, but by the time I decided to leave around 2022, I realized that like the whole strategy that Dropbox was actually going after was not aligned with my aspirations. So I was going to look for something else, and that's what I did.
Okay. And then I think at one point you started looking at Lebanon. You were finishing from Dropbox and you were kind of eyeing back home a little bit. Why was that happening? What happened?
Yeah, this is Lebanon is Lebanon is interesting. Lebanon is like you love it, you hate it, you want to go back, but you don't want to be there. Like it's just
Yes.
all of that stuff.
And you go and then you don't want to be
Um,
there, and then you leave and then you want to go back. It's a love hate, sweet and sour kind of. I think very similar to a lot of Arab countries.
exactly. So the thing is, so the what actually like what's going on, like you go back in time a little bit. So I left Dropbox in 2022, but 2019 Lebanon, big Lebanon uprising, big revolution in there. Everybody is rallying against a million things. We don't need to get into politics. It's not the topic of that. And my inner activist just came back. Just like I've always loved Lebanon. I've always been proud of being Lebanese. You go to France, you go to Spain, to Madrid, You come to California, you have to tell somebody some point that you can go ski and to go to the beach the same day, and you start having lunch at 1 p.m.
With
and then
30
you get out
minutes,
of bed.
of course.
طبعا. And then you have lunch on Sunday with your family at 1
course.
p.m. You leave the table at 6, and then you're ready to go for dinner. You have to do all of that, and then add salt and pepper to your stories. But like inside, like a lot of the closest people to my life are in Lebanon. I'm talking my family, but also my childhood friends are there. Like I love going back because it's like your nest. It's like these people love you for who you are. They've seen me doing all the stupidest shit in my life when I was a kid, and as I grew up, they're proud of me. I'm proud of them. Like there is this kind of ecosystem that is not a little bit harder in the US for me there, because all these people that I've met are people from work. And so that being said, I got very ingrained into the whole revolution that was happening, and I started rallying Lebanese people around me in San Francisco, growing into the Bay Area and to California, really. And I started to talk, with a lot of different people to organize and also do protests here in the U.S. with different groups across the country in the U.S., across the globe, and in Lebanon. And so, with some other friends, we were part of a group called مغتربين مجتمعين, which is now, to make it easier for everybody, United Diaspora. And so we had chapters. We had the United Diaspora SF. We have one in New York, in Boston, in LA, in Chicago, in Portland, anywhere you name it. In France, in Marseille, in Paris, in Lyon, all over Europe. We don't need to name them. And so we organized together. We had like regular weekly meetings, all of that, to actually build protests. And one day, January 26, 2020, we organized this massive live protest at the same time around the globe. So in Lebanon, they were protesting. It was night. In San Francisco, it was the morning. We had put huge screens in the martyr squares in Lebanon with like different TVs that were showing live at the same time, day, night, afternoon, late night, late morning, early morning, views of Lebanese and friends of Lebanese gathering to the protest. And this is basically got me so much closer to Lebanon, to an extent that you can understand. And after that, unfortunately, the Beirut port explosion also happened, and obviously big deal. And then it was very personal, because the daughter of a very good friend of mine, also, but you probably saw her name is Tracy Najjar. And so Tracy had also been like a sister to me all of my high school years. And so and I know her daughter very well, and she was only 3. And so it really created a lot of movement in me, and then that actually drove the anger and the patriotism even further. To also, I organize vigils in the country. I organize my people around me to also build that. Anyway, all that to say that all of these different moments, and of course economical collapse and all of that stuff, got me so much closer to Lebanon, that I was able to think about how to give back, to the community that is in dire need of talent, etc. And this is where, interestingly enough, how just life does things to you. After UTC in France, I met someone who became my mentor overnight. His name is Alexandre, and then we just stayed in touch because he liked me, he appreciated my work, etc. And then he literally told me, I'm working on this project, do you want to come work with me, etc. And I was leaving Dropbox. I'm like, oh, great way. It was a fintech product. It got me interested. And this is where I started to consider such move, going back to Lebanon, giving back, being able to rally people and Lebanese people around me to help the cause. And I'm a very purposeful person. So doing fintech in the middle of an economical collapse, kind of trying to build such products was very inspiring to me. And I tried it, and I didn't stay long. For different reasons, but and I decided to actually look at something else. Same thing. Life does things. In that encounter, as I was working there. I met other people that actually introduced me to the HR of Tutors back then,
So there's, yeah.
and we clicked and went through the interview process. And actually, I wasn't sure about if that was going to be the right move, because I was slightly traumatized by my first experience in Lebanon, which was normal, because you can't just come back
Of course,
after all of these years in Lebanon and think
of course,
everything's going to be
of
fine.
course. I
But
mean,
I
you
was
were
a
at
bit more
Apple and
prepared
then
this time.
Dropbox, and then you came back, and of course, there's so many. And even within Lebanon, it's shocking to anyone in Lebanon, let alone someone
Oh,
who came
yeah.
from who was at Apple and
Oh,
then
so
before.
I've heard rumors. That people. I've heard rumors about myself from different people that I came back for political reasons. That I had other
Mm,
aspirations, but I was like
agenda.
undercover, which is absolutely not true. Just put on record here. Uh, that was not. That was. I mean, if anything like that happens, it would be interesting to
Mm.
explore. But it was definitely not my motivation back then. Um, so yeah. And so I joined Tutors in early 2023. Um, yeah,
Well,
as
filters,
as
what
a
did they do, and how long were you there for?
so Tutors is a food delivery company
Was
that is expanding into doing more than just food. So they have
e-commerce?
they have some sort of e-commerce, and but then like delivery from restaurants and also delivery from like supermarket equivalents.
Mm.
And so they I took a position like it was they called it VP of engineering just because I didn't know how to call it from that perspective, but basically I was CTO. um, I call myself acting CTO there. I'm actually just CTO, and I did a lot of product too also. These are just titles or details in this case. What it is basically I tried to scale the product to make sure that they are able to grow the business from a technical perspective in a way that is going to make the app scale from an infrastructure perspective, but also improve the design of the app, improve the user experience, and bring all of these different knowledge that I got to the team. And look, it was a very inspiring role for me. Because you realize how much my background, my experience can inspire younger
Hmm.
engineers in Lebanon.
It's,
And
it's 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 about the people at the end of the day. I mean, forget the app, but the people that you're coming into contact with, people that you're literally seeing every single day. That's, I think, the biggest driver. I think it becomes.
absolutely, absolutely. And look, it's the engineers that I managed are so bright. They are so smart. They just need the right to be put in the right environment
Hmm.
with the right challenges, and giving them space to actually thrive,
Hmm.
be creative, and build. They know how to do that. We have incredible talent, and the whole brain drain from Lebanon to outside. Honestly, ideally, would need to stop, because we are like the best businessmen in the world today. There many of them are Lebanese,
Correct.
or have come from Lebanese descent, and so it's
Correct.
so sad that you cannot do that inside the country at
Hmm.
the service of that country. There's different reasons why they wouldn't do that. We don't need to go there, from political to economical, etc. I
Hmm.
get it. I get it. People need to also do what's right for them, but not everybody has the chance to leave. And if they don't leave, they need
Of
to have
course.
options to
Yeah.
actually thrive where they are. Leaving is not only the only solution. And so, if I could not leave when I was younger, I wouldn't have. You know.
Hmm.
So it's I became like for the team and for the ecosystem, this weird guy that worked at Apple that now works for Tutors. Like, oh, you know what is that? But
بالغلط.
there's like the guy is just like I took the wrong
He's
exit,
finding
and I'm like,
himself. It took a wrong exit. Found himself at Twitter. Happens that way, by the
and
way.
so and it became to me, it became so personal, the whole Tutors thing, even though that was very
Mm.
challenging
Mm.
from the way they run it. But like my team, the engineers that I managed became like my cocoon. Like it was like I was responsible for them. I was responsible for their career. I became so self-conscious about what I'm trying to do for them and with them at the service of the business, طبعا, of
Mhm.
course.
Mhm.
And so that became kind of my mission at that time. And so it teaches you a lot about life, and a lot about perception and a lot about just humility, because the way I see this at a super high level, it's hard to be humble in our countries, in our Arab countries, in the MENA region. People are like, there's a lot of like power plays. There's a lot of
Of
like,
course,
you,
everyone wants
you
to be the one. Everyone wants to be the.
everybody wants to be the one, and it's a lot also sometimes driven by the end result being the money, being making more money, and then the more money you make, the more greedy you become because you want to make more money, and then you completely lose focus and you lose what's at the core. And if I want to get a little bit philosophical with you here, I think that the core of how businesses are run across the globe is the human capital that they have. You can have the best idea in the world. You can have, be surrounded by the best investors, by the best VCs, all of that. If the human capital that you have that is actually going to build for you and with you, if they're not happy, if they're not thriving, if they're not growing, if they're not feeling that they're treated well, you're not going to get any product out the door, and you're going to struggle on a daily basis.
But don't you think
And so,
it's also related to the leadership style? But then I ask myself the question: the leaders themselves, they don't know any better. This is how they found. This is how they do it. This is how they run things. So yes, it affects the entire team, but at the same time, the leaders themselves, they probably need better education. They probably need better leadership skills. They probably need better mentoring. But unfortunately, that's not available.
that's correct. That's correct. But then this is where there's like the way I see this is, if you're not able because you don't have what it takes, then you don't do it, in very simple terms. And then you mentioned the word leader. I will go further and tell you, these people are not leaders. These people are managers.
They're managers.
They, and it's very different. It's extremely different. The concept of leadership and managers, like the manager wants to get things done. Wants to get things done, and it wants to get them. Make sure that they're done right. Because if they're not done right, then if there are bugs, if there's stuff,
They're going to be in trouble.
people are going to be in trouble, and people are going to complain about it. So all of what they're going to do is they do what it takes to actually get the stuff, make sure that things are happening. They can use their power, they can use their authority, they can use like ethical or even unethical methods to actually push their teams
As
at
long
the brink
as
of like collapse and at the brink
exactly,
of burnout.
as long as it crosses the
As
line.
long, absolutely. On the contrary, from a leadership perspective, what leadership actually means, and you need to be aspiring to those people. And basically, what you want to get, you don't want to get, you don't want to get things done right. You want to get the right things done. And then the right things being done is if you do the good things, if you treat your people right, if you actually have the right vision, you're gonna the end result will be great. Also, you will get to that point. But the leader is going to tell you where to go and put all the means for you. They're gonna put the bus at your service, have you go from point A to point B, and the manager is gonna put the right people in that bus and take you to the destination, right? And so the problem is that, how do you get from point A to point B versus, are we going to point B? It's very different things. What are the means there?
They're kind of gonna. I mean, it could be a good analogy. Not. They want to push you. They don't want to drag you. They want to push you,
Exactly.
but they don't want to
Exactly.
drag you, and you're holding back.
And if you're doing it right, you get to a point where they will tell you what needs to happen. You're not going to just dictate every single thing, because then it creates a lot more thrash. So if you have a team that is actually built, and we're talking about engineers because this is my area, but like any other teams, if you are forcing stuff on them, forcing ways of operating on them, it will be much harder than if they're telling you what to do, because you're inspiring them to actually go to that place. And this is the problem. This is a problem where in the region, I said it quickly, but like working with humility and understanding that you got to this position, you're getting paid the big bucks, but that also means that you can and should get fired faster and easier, because if wrong decisions, wrong business decisions, etc.,
That's not how it works. That's not how it
It's
works.
not how it works.
That's not how it works.
Not in the region.
I
It
mean,
works.
no.
It works in the
The way
US.
it works where we are is that regardless of what you do, you're always going to stay at the top. There's no accountability. You got
Exactly.
there, خلاص. Well, I sat on the chair. Well, that's it. Now I get the ball to run around.
Absolutely. And then if you look at politicians, you actually learn from them, and this is the
Exactly.
problem.
That's
But also,
exactly what I was going to say.
from,
They learn from their surroundings at the end of the day.
exactly, and you get, some other leaders in those positions are going to take advantage of situations. Take Lebanon as an example. We know the ecosystem is tough. We know there's an economical collapse. We know people are are like having a hard time finishing and closing their month, so on and so. We know our parents lost all of their money, and then it's the kids now today that are actually helping them because all of their savings are gone, boom, in thin air. Some business owners and some managers, I will never call them leaders, but really business owners in positions of power are going to take advantage of that. Like from a salary perspective or a compensation perspective in general, they will make sure that you don't get the pay you deserve, because anyway you have no other option. So you're being paid for a work that compensated and appreciated for a work that is undervalued just because you don't have any other option, and they know that. Which is going to in turn going to make you unhappy, which in turn is going to make you burn out, and ultimately will have an impact on the success of the business. So it's critical to me that treat the employees and those people with respect, reward them for what they're doing, and make sure they have stake in the game. In the US, we give stocks and equity to every employee, regardless of their level, different amounts, of course. So because these people will feel pride in the way when they're shipping products, etc. In other companies in the MENA region, they're like, take it for granted, you get a salary. We'll see if you get a bonus. There's no really reasons behind that. Why? Because we can get away with it. Then anyway, you're not going to go anywhere because there's nowhere else to go.
You've hit the ceiling anyway, and if you're out, there's someone else that's going to take it. So yeah, they've hit the ceiling.
That's a challenge. It's challenging.
Options. Yeah.
It's challenging, and honestly, to go back quickly on what I was trying to do, I made it my mission at Total specifically to actually, regardless of the environment, regardless of the company and how the company operated, my team specifically had the means to actually grow. We had career conversations and growth conversation. We restructured the team in ways where they can actually see that there is no ceiling, that they can learn. And then I used to tell them every day that coding, like implementing code, developing, is universal. It's like it's a language. We call it a coding language. If you speak French or if you speak C++, you speak those languages and you can use them anywhere in the world with people that understand it. Systems are going to understand programming language, whether you are doing that in Lebanon, when you are doing it on a lost island by Colombia, or if you're doing it in the United States by Silicon Valley. It's universal. You're still just coding. And so it's about being enabled in your ecosystem to actually do that. And this is what leaders are supposed to be doing. Enabling those people to actually grow, do their best work, and actually see through those areas. And so I really tried hard to do that. I think given how I left in the situation with the team, they were in great position to continue growing and succeeding. And I think they trusted me along the way, which I'm very grateful for. And then they did great things. I mean, we took Totors to the next level with this organization, and I didn't even realize that. Like, people, would notice that Totors has evolved and that Totors has grown. I'm not talking about technical KPIs and stuff, but just from the way you can hear about it. I take a lot of pride in the way I actually helped shape that, to a point where I was at a dinner last Christmas, 2 Christmases ago, and then somebody was talking about me without knowing it's me. And we're like, this guy came from Apple, worked on those technical things at Totors, and then
was
the
he
team
an
loves
employee
him.
or he was a customer? Or was...
No. A friend of a friend of a friend at a dinner, random.
And he heard of this foreign agent that came back.
That unknown. And then I had introduced myself. I didn't say I worked at Totors. I just said my name is Joe, and I told her like, what's his name? This guy we're talking about.
Like, I don't
She's
know.
like, I don't know,
Curious.
Joe, something like that. Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. And then I introduced myself from a
I'm the
work
guy.
perspective, and then
Nice
I
to
was
meet
like,
you.
I'm like, oh, interesting.
of the guy. I
Yeah, it
think.
was it was very interesting. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my god, no way. And then so we talked about it. So it becomes inspiring. But I mean, if people are talking about you without you even knowing, and
Mm,
talking about the business you work at, and then actually attributing some of their success to work they hear that you're
mm,
doing, so satisfying in your own country. My God,
mm.
honestly, it was great. That experience for me.
No, of
I'm
course.
grateful for the people I met at Tutors, and also I learned a lot. Huge lesson of on on many fronts, I would say.
Of course, no. I mean, just hearing the story on its own, even the people that you met, even if it was just for a brief moment, I think for them that little window kind of changed a lot of their perspective and probably changed the direction that they would take. So I think while it was very subtle, while it was very short, I think it was well worth it.
Look, absolutely, and you know the what one last thing I'll tell you on this is that one of the challenges that I had in Lebanon specifically is that everybody, and I think it's Arabs in general, everybody's very emotional. So you start taking decisions based on emotions. You take all kind of decisions, good ones and bad ones, and most of the time bad ones because you're thinking right. But if I want to take that from a different perspective without spending too much time on this, the it became an emotional challenge for me when I decided to move on, because I felt like these people were my responsibility,
Mm,
and I appreciate every single one of them that I work with because I saw kind of the spark in their eyes when I was like trying to change direction of whether a technology or a product or a decision that we were trying to make, and then they saw that their background or their expertise, was not, the ceiling was not met. They had more to actually try. They had more open doors, and that gave them more hope to actually try something else somewhere else later on. And I could have telling them, you're not going to work 45 years at Totors, but make your best out of it here.
mhm,
And then it became emotional because I'm like, I felt responsible for these people, like everybody was my kids, or brothers. And this is how I lead anyway, with a lot of humility and with I am an emotional person anyway. But when I'm telling you that people manage with emotions, it's a big deal. It's not me. But it's hard to put that barrier between those two things. And because of that, you're you know being ingrained in the ecosystem in Lebanon and in the Arab world, in the MENA region, makes it a bit harder if you're also if part of your personality is emotional. But
of course.
regardless, I made great connections. I met a lot of people. I mentor some of them till this moment, um, and I loved it.
No, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously spent some time in Lebanon. Then, I think what was the idea for kind of the decision for going back to the U.S.? There was a bit of you went back. So what was?
Yeah. So lots of things I'm grateful for at Torres. Again, as I said, the decision to leave was extremely hard. Not only for the emotion, but also for the sense of pride for what I
Mhm,
was doing. But it opened so many good doors to me in the MENA region. Today, like I advise startups there. I mentor people.
mhm,
So I kept a huge foot in Lebanon,
mhm,
even though I am not physically there. Anyway, I go there a lot, enough
mhm,
to continue being up to date with what's going on. Um, I don't know. Like the trigger was two things. One, the the war was looming, so it kind of also made me reconsider
The war?
things.
You
There
said? Did you
was
say the war?
the war. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. 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 Of course.
the we were being
Yes.
attacked. It's one way. It's not a war. It's just one way
Yeah.
mostly.
One way war.
It's a one way war. But so that was, it was not the main reason, but it was kind of in the back of my mind because again, always my sense of responsibility towards my family was always comes first. Like if I need to provide for my mom, help my sister, in whatever reason, uh, I have to be ready to do that. And if the country
Hmm.
is in a state of war, I might not be the best at this.
Hmm.
So let's figure out what's next. And luckily enough, Ramp contacted me to consider a role. I didn't apply there initially, and it also helped me. in my thinking about like wanting to stay relevant in the US, because it's also hard. The world is moving so fast. AI is picking up. Things are happening, and I didn't want to miss the train there. And I had kept my apartment in the US for just in case. So I went through the whole process and got that landed that job at Ramp, which is very different from it's. I lead technical partnerships, which is very different than the CTO path. But honestly, who cares? Like you're gonna hear about it. Why, كيف وي وهيدا titles. We love
No.
titles in the Arab world. We love like هذا المدير, the mudir concept, you know. And so it was like from a like even when I was leaving Twitter, they were like, oh, you're just gonna go lead technical partnerships and here your CTO, and I'm like, this is
It's the title
I
is,
told him like, yeah,
but
this is exactly what I'm gonna do.
مدير for us مدير is a big thing, بس يعني we never really hear about قائد ولا قيادة we don't hear that.
No, it's always
It
mudir, and the
doesn't
mudir always
exist. المدير
has a big
he
kirish
has a
and
big
a
kish
cigar and is sitting like this,
والسكرتيرة والمكتب
you know,
الكبير.
and he's yelling.
Of
And he's
course.
yelling in his office. All of that. Like, so I'm very far from being that person.
Don't you aspire to be that, Joey? Don't you want to
No,
be a mudir? No? You
I
want
want
to
to
be
do
قائد?
I want to actually understand this person and do exactly the opposite.
What do you
Yeah.
exactly? So maybe we can kind of wrap up with this. So what are you looking for? What kind of what are you looking for at Ramp, or you maybe after Ramp? So what's something you look forward to?
Look, I
Maybe a
think I
role
think
or
ramp today, and it's in the way it's in what I'm doing and the way it's operating. But it's a fintech company. I've always wanted to do. I think this space is fascinating. Payments in Lebanon also is a problem, or is a hard problem today, given rules, regulations, etc. And ultimately, and it's like if you think about it, from when we started our conversation, from Apple to Ramp, I'm in a startup. Like I
Mhm.
made it to what I wanted to get with different roles, and then Taurus was a startup too. But like if I talk about the US ecosystem, which is tough, I made it to where I wanted to get from learning from a very small company that does super exciting, super cool things, and that are thriving. Ramp is actually killing it, as you probably know.
Mhm.
And so to me, it's more also ultimately I would really consider and would like to get into having my own company in the next couple of years. It's going to be around finding the right co-founder, finalizing some ideas I want to actually go after. Stay tuned, inshallah. But Ramp is really going to help me get to just rounding by doing partnerships. I'm more into sales, more into BD, and building those connections and contacts. So
Of course.
trying to get into it's to me it's like the final touch of I know product, I know eng.
Mm.
I'm a very strategic thinker.
Mm.
I've built 0 to 1 products. I've taken products that were working and I helped scale them technically. I don't know how to sell. I didn't know how to sell properly, and the channel and the motions of sales and pre-sales and post-sales and all of that. But I'm heavily ingrained into that. Even if it's from a technical perspective, it's eye-opening. And so, regardless of whatever happens next, it's like super fulfilling to me to actually learn from a hyper growth company how this aspect of my career that I consider missing. And I'm a very cautious person. So of course you could tell me you just go start your company, you're gonna learn it, and like everybody else, sure. But I don't have that luxury. I have
Mm.
responsibilities. I have other
Mm.
things I need to worry about.
Mm.
I could go hard and just live my life
Wing it.
like a crazy
Yeah.
and winging it. But I can't. I mean, I can. I
You don't want
definitely
to.
can, but
You definitely don't want
I don't want to because I have responsibilities,
to. Mhm.
personal responsibilities in my family. So having that and learning this and contributing to Ramp in a meaningful way, also while learning from them, is kind of the last piece of the puzzle for me.
Mhm.
Before I actually decide on what would make the most sense for my
Do you s-
next
do you see it?
chapter.
Do you see it clearly? Do you see what's going? Do you have an idea, or you're gonna think about it?
About what I want to work on.
Hmm.
I have an idea. I have a very good idea.
Okay.
Uh, the I think the idea is good, but I have a
But
good
you
idea
have
of what
to.
I want. I
Okay.
want to confirm that it's actually good and what I want to do with it. And tap into this new AI space and this new
Mhm.
crazy world we're going to live in. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
No
Are
spoilers.
you doing any like mentoring, investing,
All of the above.
all of the above?
All of the above.
Is it
Uh,
in Lebanon? Is it in the US? You find good conversations? What's your approach?
Both, both. So I'm still very connected to Lebanon. I mentor leaders in Lebanon. I actually also do some fractional CTO type work
Mhm.
with a couple of companies to mostly out of passion, not not because I have a lot of time, but because I love it and I do carve out time for that. Um, Maybe one day I'll go back there and then I'll just do my last chapter in Lebanon and at the service of the country and the technical ecosystem there. But I do a lot of I do mentoring of individuals and individual engineers. Most of that just contact me, ask me if I can mentor them because they heard of me or some previous employees, whether they were at tutors or I met them along the journey, my career. I love doing that because I have this very very strong idea of wanting to give back to my community and to the people because I got very lucky to get to start my career at Apple. I worked very hard to get there. It's not luck. Luck might be part of it, but the whole you're lucky. It's yeah, thank you, but no. Like
I mean, I think for me it's fortune. I say it's fortune. It's not really luck.
being in the right place at the right time.
Of
For
course,
like they had the
but
right
also
problem
working,
space when I was doing.
but also working on the right thing that they needed you for
Exactly,
that.
and
Not,
life has totally proved me at least that this whole what people can consider philosophical of like oh yeah you're everything's gonna be all right, one door closed another one opens, all these things. It's a lot of like talk,
Mhm.
but today with the different experience I've been through, like life has totally proved to me that this is not BS. And it's very simple. Like
Mm.
from meeting Alex in after university to getting in touch with him in 2022 after I decided to leave Dropbox to actually going to the startup that I didn't spend long time in, that actually led me to meet this person that made me meet the HR of Toters, to going to Toters to actually getting all of the knowledge I like the super deep technical infrastructure knowledge I needed. Would have been impossible to do that without to get to ramp without that. Everything is interconnected,
Mm.
everything. And I
So,
got a Dropbox from somebody I met from Apple. So it's about just do the good things, be good, be great. Just don't be a scammer. Like earn what you work on, do the right things, be humble also. And I try to do that, tell that to the people I mentor and teach them this because I have proof. It's not just wahem. And on the side, I do angel investing for different reasons, just staying up to date with the technology, staying up to date with what's out there, and also motivating other founders and new people that are dreamers, that are builders, and are trying to get things in place to do that. And so whenever I see something that is interesting, whether it is thanks to to Viaka or other means, I definitely try to be part of that because also in some cases I'm passionate about what these people are building, and in that case, I can also not only invest but also help them, mentor them to do the best work they can.
I think as a way to wrap up, I wanted to say I think a good way to wrap is to say maybe don't be a mudir, be a leader.
I love that. And honestly, absolutely, be a leader. Work like the human heart is so giving that you can be
Mm.
humble and you can be strict and strong and to build what you do, but you also want to be inspiring. And so the mudir is not inspiring. It's not an inspiring figure. It's like a dictator type figure.
Mhm.
Given everything we've learned and saw in our history in the Arab world in the MENA region,
There
you
needs to
want
be a re-education about it, like, definitely. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and I hope the more we talk about it, the more we kind of make it
Of course.
an important topic, would help people just start realizing this and learning from others to actually be that person, because it's hard sometimes. It's personality traits that you need to also kind of educate to. You cannot change them. You won't change personalities, but you can influence them, and that's what you want to do.
Yes. I think that's it. Thanks a lot for your time, Joey. I really appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank you so much.
sharing
Thank you,
all these
Ramzi.
stories.
Of course.
It's fascinating to hear the entire journey from start to where you are today. I think there's a lot to learn from this. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Viaka, also for all the great work you guys are doing in the community, and the community of builders, and the community, the MENA people in the US and in the region also. So thank you.
All right, see you. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.